Let's head back to the voicemail of Truth and Reason.
Hey, love the show. Just have a quick question for you. If the Browns happen to move off some of their star players for draft capital, because it's going into a rebuild, and you get a couple extra first-round picks, do you actually trust Andrew Berry to make the right picks? Because he hasn't seemed to be very good when it comes to draft picks. I mean, he's maybe got two guys that were actually decent. And like I said, he's only got one Pro Bowl out of all the picks, and he keeps trading back. But I'm just saying, do you trust him to hold on to them picks and keep them, or would you expect him to trade out of them like he always seems to do? Just want to hear your thoughts. Go Browns.
As always, appreciate all of the voicemails. Scott, I'm in a dwindling minority. Again, I understand some of the criticism of Andrew Berry's drafts. The one Jedrick Wills, you can point to, okay. Didn't have a lot of first-round picks, and they kind of felt like they were in the mode of really, really competing. You draft a little differently when you're in that mode. If there is not a quarterback or a guy that makes a difference that you really like, I don't have a problem with dropping back as long as you're in the top 10 and getting an offensive tackle or somebody that you think can be a cornerstone.
Yeah, there's a lot there. First of all, I don't think they're going to do the teardown like the caller suggests. Andrew Berry today talked about he doesn't think he's going to part with the cornerstones. If you're going to do a teardown, then you trade a guy like Myles Garrett. You think about trading a guy like Denzel Ward. And Andrew Berry gave no indication that was the case. I don't think the Haslam's have the stomach for that type of a rebuild. So I don't think you're going to see that. Regardless, if you make those moves or not, you have the number 2 pick in the draft. And whether or not you trust Andrew Berry, to me, that might be the biggest question facing this organization. And it's from, can you evaluate the quarterbacks properly, whether that's in the draft or free agency? And can you hit on enough draft picks? And I get what you're saying, Dave, and he hasn't had a ton of high picks, and not having those 3 first-round picks because of the Watson trade obviously skew his draft resume. But it's not good. He's drafted 5 years, and I think I wrote about it last week. I want to say 37 picks, and I came up with maybe 6 good ones. And I know that the hit rate gets much smaller as you go deeper in the draft, but there's not a whole lot of picks that Andrew Berry can hang his hat on. So it doesn't matter if I trust him to make those picks or not. The Haslam's are, and the key is he has to hit this year because they have the number 2 pick. They have a pick it high in the second round. There's a chance to jumpstart this turnaround that they hope takes them to the playoffs in 2025. So they have the capital. They need to maximize that capital. And I would not be surprised if they traded down. That's in their history. That's part of who they are. And right now, I would lean toward sticking at number 2, but that's like a 55-45. And we're so far away. It's just you're number 2. You need a quarterback. My first instinct is you sit at number 2 and take a quarterback, but there's a million questions to be answered before that.
Yeah, when you're drafting that high, you can't miss. You flat out can't miss. Myles Garrett was first overall pick. Denzel Ward was 4th. You need that kind of player if you are drafting in the top 5. You have to get them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's no doubt about it. And if you sit at 2, is it, again, this is way early. If it's a quarterback, it's a quarterback. If it's not, is it Travis Hunter? And you got to figure it out, but maybe he's the best player in the draft. Is it a left tackle? Do you get a pass rusher to pair with Myles Garrett, which, they've gone these veteran guys, whether it's free agency or trade the last several years. Do you go younger there? Or do you trade back? And then that opens it up to defensive tackle, wide receiver, whatever. And you add more, you add another number 1 pick, or you add a 2nd and a 3 in this draft, whatever it is. There's going to be a billion options. But what can't happen is you blow the number 2 pick, or you trade down and blow those picks like we saw the Browns do, so many times, especially before Andrew Berry, right? Sashi Brown would trade out. I remember trading out of that number 2 pick in 2016. They trade back again, and they wind up taking Corey Coleman, right? So you can't have that happen.
No, absolutely not.